Alright, this video is for Module 38, Part 2. So what we're talking about here is we're going to talk about sexual orientation and the need to belong. So first of all, sexual orientation, obviously the biggest thing is that taking a look at the factors that lead to homosexuality. And there has been lots and lots of studies that look at this because people want to know what leads to homosexuality. But what studies have found is there doesn't seem to be any environmental factors that lead to homosexuality. So just because you have an overbearing mother or you had a father that left home when you were little, or an abusive relationship with your parents or somebody else, that does not lead to homosexuality. So they are still doing more studies on this, but as of right now, there has not been any indicators that there are environmental factors that lead to this. There does seem to be biological correlations, however. First of all, for example, there has been studies that looked at the brains of various people of different sexual orientations, and they found that the brains of gay men and straight women are very similar, and the brains of lesbian women and straight men are similar. So I have a picture to kind of illustrate this. So the first column here is heterosexual males. The next column is heterosexual females. The next column is homosexual males, and then the last column is the homosexual females. So compare the first column and the last column, so heterosexual males and homosexual females, and you will notice while it's not a perfect match, you can see, and obviously this is the left amygdala and the right amygdala, but you can see that there are similarities. So here and here is what lights up on the scan, and here and here for the heterosexual males and the homosexual females. Now, as you can tell, that there are some spots that don't line up perfectly. For example, this area right here that's lit up for homosexual females. But the similarities, and then the similarities between heterosexual women and the homosexual men, again, similarities. I mean, the homosexual man's brain looks a lot closer to the heterosexual female's brain than, for example, the heterosexual male's brain. But again, it's not a perfect match. I mean, you have these spots here, but then you have these spots here that are not the same on the homosexual man. So it kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at. Now, it is possible that many genes interact to determine sexual orientation. They haven't found the gay gene. It's more likely that it's a variety of genes that come together. And this is kind of one of those pieces of information that cuts both ways. So the homosexual community is excited about it from the standpoint of that, there are still people out there that will make the argument that you chose this lifestyle. Why don't you just stop being gay? And some people make that argument. So the homosexual community is excited about the fact that the genetic link to homosexuality proves beyond a doubt that this is not something that they chose, that they were born that way. And so, the Lady Gaga song, Born This Way. So that goes, along with that study. Now, the reason it cuts both ways is because the flip side of that, and for some people in the homosexual community and homosexual advocates that are concerned about this, is that, okay, what about if we link it to a particular gene, and there is a lot of genetic testing that you can do in utero, and so what if, for example, we find that gay gene and people will go and try to eliminate it in the baby. If you remember that movie Gattaca that we showed last semester when we were talking about the designer babies, right? That could potentially happen, as well as even before that. What if, oh, we found out it has the gay gene? Okay, well, maybe it'll increase abortion rates, or at the very least, adoption rates, because, oh, I don't want to have that gay baby. So it's one of those things where it goes both sides. So it's good because it proves beyond a doubt that, it is something that, you are born with, but it also can be potentially damaging down the road. Uh, there is also a possible prenatal hormonal link, and this is a study that's continuing, so they haven't linked it to a specific prenatal hormones, but it's the idea that particular prenatal hormones predispose particular temperaments in children that leads to homosexuality. So they may have particular hormones in utero that will cause a female child to play more with predominantly male um, toys, for example, or vice versa. So that's kind of one of the other arguments and biological links to the reasons behind homosexuality. That's the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about with sexual orientation. The other part that I wanted to talk about in this video is having to do with this need to belong. And if you remember when we started talking about Maslow's hierarchy had one of the levels was that need to belong, and it was like the third level. You start with physiological needs, and then safety needs, and then need to belong, and self-esteem, and then self-actualization, and then self-transcendence. So need to belong is pretty important in there. It's on one of the base ones. And this feeling of belonging, in this sense that you belong somewhere and that you have friends and you have a network, it actually has been proven to increase your self-esteem. It has influenced your thoughts, helped you survive as a species even. Obviously, having people that you feel like you connect with and you belong with can definitely improve your mood, make you feel, hey, it's okay who I am. I'm pretty great the way I am, right? But it can also influence your thoughts. Those friends that, they'll be honest and they'll be brutal about their truth about what they think of what you're doing, but they're your friends, right? So they're going to hopefully say it in a positive way, in such a way that, you're going to think about that the next time you come across something that's similar. And they have helped us survive as a species. There has been studies that even links social networks to increased health, and that you're healthier as a person and you have less stress, and because you have those people to basically support you. So this feeling of belonging, this need to belong is important. It is a need that needs to be met. Now, the opposite of this is going to be ostracism. And ostracism is rejection, basically. This is going to be not just somebody who is choosing to be a loner, but these are people that are actively rejected. And ostracism threatens, obviously, your self-esteem. It threatens your sense of belonging. It threatens your control and your meaningful existence. Today, we have lots of cyberbullying. And I see these pictures all over where they talk about, kids that are being bullied online to the point of, being constantly told that you're a loser, that you're fat, that you're ugly, whatever, no one likes you. Um, and it used to be that, kids could get bullied potentially at school, and then they come home and hopefully, home is an oasis, and it's, they feel comfortable in being themselves. Now it's gotten to the point where it's everywhere because, you have your phone and your computer and your tablet, and it's everywhere. And so it can definitely lead to some very negative thoughts and feelings, major depression disorders, thoughts of suicide, just from being ostracized. A lot of, for example, the school shootings have been linked to kids that were just ostracized by the rest of the school. This is even worse when you're ostracized by your friends. Have you ever had this picture happen? Okay, I found this picture and I was like, that is totally ostracism by your friends. Have you ever had this happen? These are particularly girls, but it could happen with boys too. But it particularly happens where, you can view this where, a bunch of kids come over to somebody's house, and all of a sudden it ends up with one or two kids that, in this case, girl, that is kind of excluded. And sometimes it's intentionally and sometimes it's not intentionally. But then the girl on the floor, she feels terrible. They're talking about her, they're whispering about her, or she feels that they are. They're not inviting her to do anything with them. She feels ostracized. And so it feels worse when it's supposed to be your friends because you feel like, they should be backing you up. Okay, so that's a very important part of needing to belong. Everybody needs to belong somewhere, and they need to have some sort of connection. And so that's the idea behind needing to belong. All right, let me know if you have any questions. That's the end of Module 38. Look for videos on Module 39.